Welcome to Window to Faith.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep on something really incredible and really important to me, and that's the Holy Spirit. Like, how does the Holy Spirit actually show up in our lives every day? We'll be looking at this amazing sermon by Pastor Vlad Savchuk from Hungry Gen Church.
Oh, I love Hungry Gen.
They have such a strong belief in the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, and they're all about, really living out their faith, bringing people to Jesus.
Absolutely. And what's really cool about this particular sermon is that Pastor Savchuk, it goes beyond just the miracles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He talks about how the Holy Spirit actually shapes us, helps us grow as people.
Yeah, he really gets into the Holy Spirit as, a person, not just, some kind of force or feeling. He's a divine being, right? And he wants a relationship with us.
And he uses this analogy. I love this. He compares the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, to the Tri-Cities.
Oh, that's good.
So you've got Kennewick, Pasco, Richland, all these different cities, but they're all part of this one Tri-Cities area.
That's such a good way to explain it because, the Trinity can be so hard to understand. 3 persons, but one God,
It is. But like he says, you don't have to perfectly understand it to trust God and worship him. It's like, who really understands how a cow eats grass and makes milk? We just enjoy the milk, right?
Right. That's good.
It's about faith, not overthinking everything.
Totally. Our brains can't always grasp the infinite, right? But that doesn't mean God isn't real.
So true. Okay, so then Pastor Savchuk talks about this idea of a wilderness journey, this in-between phase we all go through.
Yes. Like the Israelites wandering in the desert for 40 years. They were free, but they weren't in the promised land yet.
Right. It was a time of testing and refining, getting ready for what God had planned.
Like in a marriage,
Oh, tell me about it. Those early years can be a wilderness sometimes.
Figuring things out, learning to deal with disagreements. But, you come out stronger on the other side.
So he asked this question, and I think it's so powerful for all of us. What wilderness are you going through right now? Where are you in that in-between time? And how is the Holy Spirit at work, even if you don't see it?
Oh, that's deep. It's easy to get discouraged when things are hard,
Yeah. And he actually warns us about that. He says, straight up, the enemy will use hard times to make your heart hard.
Oh, wow. So true.
It's like the tough stuff isn't random, right? It's spiritual warfare. The enemy wants to pull us away from God.
You make us doubt.
Exactly. And so that's where surrendering to the Holy Spirit comes in. Savchuk says, when we surrender to our problems instead of to the Spirit, we actually grieve him.
We're saying, I don't trust you, God.
Right. It's like constantly questioning someone who's trying to help you,
Yeah.
It hurts them because it shows you don't trust them.
Makes sense.
And he says, we take these little problems, like molehills, and we turn them into mountains. All this worry and anxiety, we forget everything God has done for us in the past.
We just get so focused on what's right in front of us.
And that's what leads him to talk about active faith versus passive trust.
I love that he talks about that because, so often we hear about this big, bold, go-get-it kind of faith, move mountains.
Yeah, and that is amazing. Like the woman who touched Jesus's robe or the centurion, so sure of Jesus's authority.
That's active faith right there.
But then there's passive trust, which isn't weak at all. It's for those times when we're exhausted. We can't fight anymore.
Yeah, we just have to rest in God.
Say, okay, God, I trust you. I can't do this on my own.
I need that reminder sometimes.
Me too. And he says, even in that surrender, there's power. Like when we get on an airplane.
Right.
We just trust the pilot, right?
We don't interrogate him before takeoff.
Exactly. We trust he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's like that with God. We can rest in his sovereignty.
That's a good word. Just rest. It's like saying, God, I trust you. You've got this.
And even in that quiet trust, God is working. And, there are different ways that trust can look, right? He gives those examples from the Bible. The centurion who's just so confident in Jesus' power, Bartimaeus crying out for mercy.
Oh, yeah, Bartimaeus. He wouldn't be quiet.
And then the paralyzed man, just letting Jesus heal him. There's no one right way to have faith. The point is that we're focused on Jesus, acknowledging his power, whether we're shouting it out or just quietly resting in it.
Yeah. And you know what else is interesting? He talks about complaining.
Oh, yeah. He gets pretty intense about that.
He basically says complaining is like worshiping the devil.
Whoa. Okay, so I get what he's saying. It's not that, we can't ever be negative or anything. It's more about where's our focus?
Yeah.
What are we dwelling on? What are we giving energy to?
It's like, what are we feeding? Are we feeding the negativity or the hope?
Right. He even compares complaining to snake venom. like it's poison.
Wow, snake venom, that's
Yeah.
a strong image.
It is. He's saying it poisons our souls in infights, like demonic influence. It pushes away the Holy Spirit and opens the door to darkness.
That makes sense. When I'm complaining, it's like I just spiral down.
And remember, he was really honest about his own struggle with this.
Yeah.
He talked about, like, being afraid to give money away. Not because he was greedy, but because he was scared of not having enough.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It was really powerful.
He had to confront that fear, you
Yeah.
know, surrender it to God. And even though he's a pastor, he still had to deal with that.
That's encouraging, actually. Like, we all have those things.
Right. Nobody's perfect. And he says the key is to replace that negativity with gratitude.
With communion with the Holy Spirit.
Yes. Focusing on the good things. Like actually counting our blessings, remembering what God has done for us.
It's not ignoring the hard stuff. It's choosing to see God in the middle of it.
It's speaking life, not death.
Right.
Choosing faith over fear.
Okay, so then he talks about being sensitive to the Holy Spirit.
Especially when we can't see a way forward.
Oh, yeah. When things are dark, we need to listen.
He brings up Bartimaeus again, the blind man who called out to Jesus. And he says, your hearing is going to be the key to change what you're seeing if what you're seeing hasn't been changing.
Oh, I love that quote. So good.
It's like we focus so much on what we can see, right?
What evidence?
But it starts with hearing, listening to the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
And, you know, faith comes from hearing.
So true. And he's always talking to us.
Right. But are we listening?
He's guiding us, prompting us.
We have to learn to recognize his voice.
It's not always a booming voice,
It's
right?
not often a whisper.
A nudge, a feeling of peace or unease.
It's about making space for prayer and listening, being quiet so we can hear him.
Like when we read the Bible, we have to meditate on it, you know? Let it soak in.
And, you know, he talks about this difference between sensitivity and oversensitivity.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
So, like, some of us take things really personally, right? Get our feelings hurt easily.
I know some people like that.
But he says, don't take yourself too seriously. But take the Holy Spirit seriously.
Okay, yeah. That's good. Balance.
So we don't want to grieve the Holy Spirit. But we don't have to walk on eggshells all the time either.
Not be afraid to offend anyone.
It's about putting our relationship with the Holy Spirit first, you know, above our own ego.
Letting go of control, letting God work.
Even when it's uncomfortable. And he shares this story about his own marriage.
Oh, wow. What happened?
So he was struggling with, like, self-righteousness. Thinking he was good because he was following all the rules, you know.
Oh, I've been there.
Right. But God had to break him down.
Show him what needed to change.
He compares it to, like, open heart surgery.
Oh, wow. Intense.
Right. He's like, you can't just walk out in the middle of surgery because it's uncomfortable.
You have to stay on the table. Let the surgeon do his work.
Exactly. And that's what it's like with the Holy Spirit. Spiritual growth can be painful.
But it's for our good.
It's surrendering to God's scalpel, you know, letting him cut away the things that are holding us back.
Trusting that he knows what's best for us, even when we don't understand.
And he talks about those early days in ministry, you know. He was so ambitious,
He wanted to make things happen.
but he almost missed the point. He was actually driven by, like, wanting to be famous, recognized.
Not pure motives, huh?
Yeah, he had to confront that, really examine his heart. And, you know, it's so easy to get caught up in those things. Success, achievement, recognition.
I mean, I struggle with that all the time.
But he's saying true success is aligning ourselves with God's purpose.
It's seeking his glory, not our own.
And sometimes that means letting go of our own plans
Yeah.
and surrendering to his will.
Even when it doesn't make sense.
And get this, he tells the story about how God told him to empty his savings account and give it all away.
What?
I know, right? Talk about a test of faith.
He must have freaked out.
He did. He fought it. He was
Yeah.
terrified. But he obeyed.
What happened?
It was a turning point. He realized his attachment to money was like an idol. It was holding him back from God.
Wow. It's so easy to cling to things, you know, for security.
And sometimes God asks us to do crazy things.
Illogical things.
But when we obey, he shows up.
We have to trust that his ways are higher than ours.
Right. He's got a plan, even when we don't get it. And he keeps coming back to this idea, the Holy Spirit's guidance. When we're lost, confused,
The Holy Spirit is speaking. We have to recognize his voice.
he's not always going to spell it out for us, right?
But he's always there.
We have to trust him.
Like driving at night, we can only see as far as the headlights, but we keep moving forward.
I love that. God gives us enough light for the next step. And as we keep walking, he keeps revealing the path.
So if you're feeling lost right now, you're not alone. The Holy Spirit is with you. He's guiding you.
Trust in God's goodness, even when you can't see the way forward.
Surrender your fears, your doubts, everything to the Holy Spirit. Let him work.
He loves you. He wants you to grow and flourish. I mean, think about it. The same Holy Spirit who did all those amazing things in the Bible, he's still working today. It's incredible.
It really is. The same power that brought Jesus back to life is here with us, guiding us, comforting us. It's mind-blowing, you know?
It really is. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Pastor Savchuk's sermon, what were some of the big takeaways for you? Like, what can we actually put into practice in our own lives?
I think for me, the thing that really stuck out was remembering that the Holy Spirit is a person, you know? Not just some force. Like, we can talk to him, listen to him, and yeah, even grieve him. It's a relationship.
Absolutely. And going along with that, surrendering to the Holy Spirit, especially when things get tough.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get scared and doubtful.
Yeah. And he said trusting the Holy Spirit doesn't mean like sitting around doing nothing.
Right. What does it mean then?
It's about asking for his guidance, listening for his voice, and then actually doing what he says.
It's like being humble, saying, I don't know everything, and being open to God's plan, even when it doesn't make sense to us. It's saying yes, even when it's scary.
I love that. And we talked about being sensitive to the Holy Spirit's voice too.
Making space for prayer, being quiet so we can actually hear him.
Yeah. It's like tuning our ears to hear those whispers in the middle of all the noise of life.
And Pastor Savchuk encourages us to keep going, keep praying, keep asking, keep knocking until we find that direction we need.
Don't give up. It's a journey.
And it's a process.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to see the whole picture all at once, but if we keep trusting him,
he'll guide us one step at a time.
I love that. Well, this has been amazing. Such a powerful message. A call to go deeper with the Holy Spirit.
And
It's letting go of trying to do everything ourselves and opening up to his incredible power, his guidance, his presence. It's a lifelong adventure. So as we end today, think about this. Is there anything in your life that you're holding back from the Holy Spirit? Any fear or insecurity that's keeping you from experiencing all that he has for you? Take some time to think about that and ask him to show you. He's always there, ready to help you grow, to heal you, and to guide you into all truth. It's been such a joy to unpack this with you today.
yeah.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, the Holy Spirit is with you